Xiao Yan brought Ziyin back to the Falling Star Pavilion, causing everyone to marvel at his ability to associate with the primordial ancient dragon emperor. Continuing from the previous chapter, Ziyin, within the time Xiao Yan secured, successfully wielded the Dragon Slayer sword, gravely injuring the Western Dragon King with a single strike. The only thought in the Southern Dragon King's mind now was to escape. The pressure from the Dragon Slayer sword was pushing him to the brink of collapse. Xiao Yan swallowed hard, filled with shock. He had personally experienced how terrifying the defenses of these three were. Even his most powerful destruction Fire Lotus had only managed to injure them. Yet Ziyan's seemingly effortless strike nearly took the Western Dragon King's life. The Southern Dragon King roared, "Run!" He retreated rapidly, understanding that staying would mean certain death. Clutching the hideous wound on his chest, the Western Dragon King frantically withdrew, using his Dou Qi. Beside Xiao Yan, Ziyin walked slowly, her gaze cold as she watched the two flee. She raised the Dragon Slayer sword again and swung it down lightly. In that moment, Xiao Yan suddenly noticed a small strand of Ziyan's purple hair turning gray. Seeing this, Xiao Yan's heart was struck hard. The Dragon Slayer sword is draining Ziyan's life force. As Ziyin swung the sword again, the Western and Southern Dragon Kings felt the nearness of death and shouted, "Do you want to exterminate us completely? We'll fight you to the death." Now heavily injured, they knew another strike would spell disaster. Their previous experience also told them that escaping the Dragon Slayer sword was impossible. Desperate, they spat out a mouthful of pale golden blood. The golden blood quickly expanded before them, forming a giant golden bell dozens of feet tall, enveloping the two Dragon Kings. As soon as the golden bell took shape, a strange wave of energy shot towards it, smashing heavily into the bell. A loud explosion followed, causing intense ripples on the surface of the golden bell before it shattered under the horrified gazes of the two Dragon Kings. With the golden bell's explosion, the residual shockwave hit the two, severing one of their legs each. Within a few minutes, the two mighty Dragon Kings were crippled. "Traitors, do you think you're worthy of wielding the Dragon Emperor's power?" Ziyin sneered coldly at the miserable duo, and without hesitation, swung the Dragon Slayer sword down again. As Ziyin raised the sword halfway, her body trembled, and she spat out a mouthful of dark golden blood, her face turning pale. Though she couldn't complete the swing, a wave of energy still emanated from the half-swing, swiftly heading towards the two Dragon Kings. Gravely injured, they could only feel a growing sense of dread and fear as the wave approached. Just as the wave was about to strike, a figure darted in like lightning. It was the Northern Dragon King, who had been absent until now. He grabbed the shoulders of the two and spat out a mouthful of golden blood, causing their speed to surge. With a few rapid flashes, they disappeared into the void. Shortly after their disappearance, a piercing scream echoed from the direction they had fled, indicating they had not entirely escaped the pursuing wave of energy. Seeing the three Dragon Kings flee so miserably, Xianemo and the others on East Dragon Island felt a chill run down their spines. The three Dragon Kings have been defeated. Instantly, they sprang into the air, fleeing in all directions along with several elders from the three islands. Staying any longer would mean certain death. Xiao Yan watched the three Dragon Kings vanish, then turned his gaze to the liquid-like sword in Ziyan's hand, inhaling sharply. What a terrifying sword! Ziyin remained motionless despite the escape of the three Dragon Kings. Her cold purple eyes stared at the spot where they disappeared. After a moment, the golden sword in her hand, which seemed to be made of liquid, slowly dissipated. As the Dragon Slayer's sword vanished, Ziyin spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and collapsed backward. Seeing this, Xiao Yan was startled. He rushed forward and caught her. Looking at her extremely pale face, he felt a pang of heartache. It seemed that wielding the Dragon Slayer sword had taken a tremendous toll on her, and this exhaustion wasn't merely from using Dou Qi. Lying in Xiao Yan's arms, Ziyin looked at him with her purple eyes, a strained smile appearing on her face. "I'm fine." Xiao Yan shook his head, then sat down in the void, holding Ziyin. He was in terrible shape himself. If not for the bloodline power from his heart healing many of his damaged meridians, He would be as helpless as a cripple now. Even so, he was at his limit. The injuries he sustained fighting the 3 Dragon Kings were severe. Xiao Yan took out a jade bottle from his storage ring and poured out several smooth pills. He showed them to Ziyin with a smile. Here, take these. They're your favorite pills. Hearing his teasing words, Ziyin couldn't help but roll her eyes. Do you still think I'm a little girl? But she didn't hesitate to take the pills and swallow them, now eating them much more gracefully than when she used to gobble them down as a child. Below them, the elders of East Dragon Island swiftly approached, stopping a short distance from Ziyin. Bowing respectfully, they said, Your Majesty, Dragon Emperor. They were quite perceptive, merely glancing at the two before quickly lowering their heads. Seeing these elders, a faint blush appeared on Ziyan's pale cheeks before quickly fading away. She struggled to stand up from Xiao Yan's embrace and asked, Elder, is East Dragon Island secure? Though her voice was weak, it carried a hint of authority. The elder respectfully replied, Your Majesty, East Dragon Island is secure. The people of the 3 Dragon Islands have fled, but many members of the ancient dragon clan have chosen to stay with us. He was referring to those who had bowed earlier. Good. Take them in temporarily and keep a close watch. There might be spies among them, Ziyin nodded. Yes, and what of the 3 Dragon Kings? The elder hesitated. The survival of the 3 Dragon Kings was the greatest obstacle to unifying the ancient dragon clan. I've crippled the Western and Southern Dragon Kings. Even if they recover, their power will be greatly diminished. With only the Northern Dragon King left, they won't pose a significant threat. Once East Dragon Island recuperates, we'll attack the 3 islands and complete the unification, Ziyin said, her purple eyes flashing with determination. Perhaps due to her Dragon Phoenix constitution, she now exuded a natural authority. Even Xiao Yan was somewhat in awe, finding it hard to believe that the once greedy little girl had become so formidable. The elders let out a sigh of relief and respectfully responded, Understood. They quickly bowed and returned to East Dragon Island, still fearful of the power Ziyin had displayed with the Dragon Slayer sword. As they left, Ziyin turned to see Xiao Yan's slightly odd expression and asked, What is it? Xiao Yan shook his head and sighed. Ah, Dragon Emperor. That's quite a title. I still prefer the little girl who used to hang around me, eating and playing. Ziyin glared at Xiao Yan, then moved closer, a mischievous smile appearing on her delicate face. I'm not putting on airs with you, am I? You seem to like this kind of thing before. I often saw you staring at Kai Lin. Hearing this, Xiao Yan's face turned red. Nonsense. He looked at Ziyin, and her tone reminded him of the carefree little girl who used to eat ravenously. Ziyin covered her mouth and laughed. Then, her smile faded as she looked at Xiao Yan. Thanks for everything. Without your help in holding off and injuring the 3 Dragon Kings, my immature Dragon Slayer sword wouldn't have been so effective. No need to thank me. I've been through a lot because of you. Xiao Yan rolled his eyes. To solve Ziyan's problems, he had gone to great lengths, including allying with the 9 Nether-Earth Underworld Python clan and intercepting the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan's experts to use them as hostages. After arriving here, he had fought the 3 Dragon Kings, suffering severe injuries. If not for his strong physique, he might have perished. Of course, Xiao Yan wouldn't say all this directly. Waving his hand, he turned to leave for East Dragon Island. But as soon as he moved, intense pain shot through his meridians, twisting his face in agony. Ziyin said, You're still so stubborn after all these years. Rest and heal on East Dragon Island for now. As Xiao Yan grimaced in pain, a sweet fragrance wafted over. He felt his arm being lifted, touching something soft and smooth. Turning his head, he saw Ziyin supporting him. With a flick of her body, she flew towards the distant Dragon Island, her purple hair fluttering and lightly brushing against Xiao Yan's face, making him feel surprisingly comfortable. The great battle on East Dragon Island finally concluded with a decisive victory for East Dragon Island, largely due to the terrifying deterrence of the Dragon Slayer sword. After this battle, the strength of East Dragon Island would undoubtedly soar, far surpassing the 3 Dragon Islands. In contrast, the 3 Dragon Islands would inevitably decline. The Dragon Slayer sword was a symbol of the Dragon Emperor. Previously, many warriors from the 3 islands doubted Ziyan's identity, But after this event, those doubts would vanish. Under the command of the true Dragon Emperor, the bloodline pressure would lead the clans of the 3 Dragon Islands to make their final choice after a series of decisions. From now on, the 3 Dragon Islands would lose any chance of attacking East Dragon Island. They would be forced into a passive position, helplessly waiting for East Dragon Island to gather strength until they were ultimately eradicated, completing the unification of the ancient Dragon Clan. Of course, achieving this would still take some time. After the defeat of the 3 Dragon Kings, East Dragon Island became busy with post-war affairs, especially since many new residents had joined. While East Dragon Island was bustling after the battle, Xiao Yan sought a secluded chamber and announced his seclusion. His injuries were severe, almost fatal, and he needed to thoroughly heal to avoid any hindrances to his future strength. The loss would be too great otherwise. In the quiet chamber, faint sandalwood incense filled the air. Xiao Yan sat cross-legged on a platform made of cold jade, eyes closed, as dense energy swirled around him, slowly entering his body with each breath. 10 days had passed since Xiao Yan entered seclusion. During this time, his severe injuries gradually healed, but despite the improvement, he showed no signs of waking up. His body remained as still as a statue, maintaining the same posture since entering the chamber. However, unknown to anyone, Xiao Yan's internal state was far from peaceful. Within Xiao Yan, his heart beat slowly. With each beat, a trace of purple-red blood flowed from his heart, spreading throughout his body. This blood seemed to possess an extremely high temperature, causing the meridians and muscles it passed through to boil. Yet, this boiling sensation did not cause Xiao Yan any pain. Instead, it gave him a sense of renewal. Xiao Yan didn't know why this was happening. He only knew that shortly after entering seclusion, the new bloodline power that Xiao Xian had fused and hidden in his heart began to flow out. Though weak, this bloodline had miraculous effects. Most of his severe injuries healed within 10 days, thanks mainly to this purple-red blood. Though puzzled by the sudden activity of the purple-red blood, Xiao Yan did not try to control it. He let it flow naturally. He felt reassured because he sensed that each time that purple-red blood washed through him, his strength subtly increased. It felt as though the purple-red blood was continuously refining his body. This was undoubtedly a good thing, so Xiao Yan did not resist it. Over time, he gradually entered a state akin to slumber. While he slept, his heart continued its rhythmic beating, sending streams of purple-red blood to wash through his meridians and muscles tirelessly. As this cleansing continued, Xiao Yan's aura slowly ascended. In the silent chamber, the concept of time became extremely vague. The faint scent of sandalwood lingered, creating a tranquil atmosphere as time quietly passed by. Xiao Yan's seclusion and meditation lasted for a full 3 months, a duration that even he had not anticipated. However, in that state of slumber, he forgot about time, immersing himself in the wonderful sensation of his body being cleansed. Inside the quiet chamber, Xiao Yan sat quietly on the cold jade bed. Now, his skin had a faint purple hue, and faint purple-red streams seemed to flow beneath his skin, emanating an extremely powerful fluctuation. These rippling waves, now undulating across Xiao Yan's body, spread out in circles of purple-red light from his heart, eventually encompassing every part of his body. This flow of light continued for 3 months. 3 months of cleansing turned Xiao Yan's once fair skin into a purple-red hue. Even his black hair had a faint reddish tint, giving him a slightly demonic appearance. Of course, the changes were not just superficial. His aura had reached the true peak of the late stage of the 1-star Dou Sheng, just a step away from breaking through to the 2-star Dou Sheng level. The bloodline tempering clearly brought Xiao Yan significant benefits. When Xiao Yan's aura reached the peak of the late 1-star stage, he still did not wake from his slumber. As days passed, and on the 100th day, a strange gurgling sound suddenly filled the quiet chamber, reminiscent of flowing water. The sound came from within Xiao Yan's body as he sat on the cold jade bed. As the gurgling sound emerged, the space around Xiao Yan began to ripple violently. Streams of energy, almost tangible, formed whirlwinds around him, creating a howling wind. The whirlwind spun faster and faster, drawing more and more energy into the chamber. The whirlwinds rapidly expanded. The sturdy chamber walls were shredded into pieces by the expanding whirlwinds, and blinding light poured in from outside. The sudden energy whirlwind on East Dragon Island was immediately noticed by many strong practitioners. In a flash, several figures appeared outside Xiao Yan's chamber, their eyes wide with surprise as they gazed at the raging energy storm. Amid their astonishment, a soft voice emerged from the Dragon Hall. A few figures flashed into the sky, revealing Xiao, Little Fairy Doctor, and others. Seeing Xiao appear, the members of the primordial ancient dragon clan quickly bowed and then retreated a bit. I wondered why it took so long for him to heal. Turns out he was aiming for a breakthrough, Xiao said with a smile, floating in the air and looking down at Xiao Yan in the whirlwind. Little Fairy Doctor and Qing Lin both let out sighs of relief. They had been worried sick for the past 3 months. If Xiao hadn't assured them that nothing would go wrong, they might have forced their way into the chamber. Xiao Yan's injuries were severe, and they feared something might go wrong. Fortunately, their worst fears did not materialize. Instead, Xiao Yan had turned misfortune into a blessing, using his bloodline power to attempt a breakthrough to the 2-star Dou Sheng. Brother Xiao Yan is truly extraordinary. Just a few months ago, he was at the early stage of 1-star Dou Sheng, and now he has the chance to break through to 2-star, Yao Ming said with genuine admiration. During this period, although Yao Ming occasionally returned to the 9 Netherworld Python clan, he spent most of his time on East Dragon Island. Having found a strong ally in the primordial ancient dragon clan, he seized every opportunity to strengthen this bond, especially now that East Dragon Island was gradually unifying the primordial ancient dragon clan. As the onlookers marveled at Xiao Yan's transformation, the energy pouring into the whirlwind became increasingly terrifying. Eventually, the whirlwind thickened, and droplets of energy began to form, floating around the whirlwind and emitting an awe-inspiring fluctuation. As more energy condensed into droplets, the whirlwind transformed into an energy vortex. In just a few minutes, the final stream of energy condensed into a droplet and joined the massive vortex. When the whirlwind fully transformed into an energy vortex, it trembled violently. Suddenly, Xiao Yan, who had been in a 100-day slumber, opened his eyes, and 2 startling beams of purple-red light shot out. The 2 beams of purple-red light streaked across the sky. Many primordial ancient dragon clan members on East Dragon Island felt a peculiar pressure from the light, a pressure that also came from their bloodline. As the ancient dragons marveled at this phenomenon, Xian's face showed a trace of surprise. From the light, she sensed a familiar aura. Is this the Dragon Emperor's bloodline pressure? How is it in his body? And there's some other power mixed in, she wondered. They naturally did not know that Xiao Yan's bloodline power was a fusion of 3 bloodlines: the Xiao clan bloodline, the Gu clan bloodline, and the Dragon Phoenix bloodline. This fusion naturally carried some traits of the Dragon Phoenix. As exclamations of surprise echoed across East Dragon Island, Xiao Yan suddenly opened his mouth wide. The massive energy vortex transformed into streams of energy, which were directly swallowed by Xiao Yan in one gulp. When the last stream of energy was absorbed into Xiao Yan's body, the cold jade stone bed he was sitting on shattered into powder. A terrifying aura slowly emanated from his body, enveloping the entire area. Feeling that terrifying aura, Xian and the others slowly breathed a sigh of relief, their eyes filled with joy. Xiao Yan raised his head and slowly exhaled a thick breath. This breath condensed into a liquid drop, which fell into the cold jade powder below. Instantly, the powder reassembled into a stone platform, emitting a powerful energy fluctuation. After exhaling, Xiao Yan stood up. As he clenched his fist, a surge of powerful energy instantly spread from every cell in his body. Xiao Yan briefly assessed his current physical state, and a hint of delight flashed in his eyes. What a powerful body! After 3 months of bloodline tempering, the strength of his physical body probably no longer lagged behind that of the primordial ancient dragons. Xiao Yan lightly touched his chest. This ordeal has indeed turned out to be a blessing in disguise. If not for the life-and-death battle he had experienced, the bloodline in his heart might not have activated, and he would not have broken through to the 2-star Dou Sheng level so quickly. His physical body also would not have been strengthened to this extent. Moreover, Xiao Yan could sense that even after emerging from that state, a trickle of purple-red blood continued to flow from his heart, persistently cleansing his body. Although the efficiency was lower, it was ongoing, and such constant tempering would be immensely powerful over time. Haha, brother Xiao Yan, congratulations on another breakthrough in just a few months. Such cultivation speed truly puts me to shame, came a hearty laugh from the sky. Yao Ming and others descended, landing not far from Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan cupped his hands in a salute to Yao Ming, then turned his gaze to Zi Yan. Seeing that her face had returned to normal, he felt a sense of relief. It seemed Zi Yan had also recovered from her previous weakened state. He asked, "How long was I in seclusion this time?" 3 months, just 100 days, little fairy doctor replied with a smile. 100 days? Xiao Yan's eyes flashed with surprise. He then suddenly asked, "Any news from the Alliance?" "Yes, a few days ago, we received a message from Elder Yao. He asked you to return to the Falling Star Pavilion as soon as possible," little fairy doctor said with a serious expression, looking at Xiao Yan. "The pure lotus demon flame is about to emerge, and the soul hall has begun to take action. It seems they are also aiming for the pure lotus demon flame." Xiao Yan nodded slowly. The timing matched the anticipated emergence of the pure lotus demon flame. As for the soul hall, he had long known they wouldn't remain quiet. They would undoubtedly try to seize such a rare and powerful heavenly treasure. In that case, we will depart for the Falling Star Pavilion today. The matter of the pure lotus demon flame needs careful planning. Xiao Yan's voice was tinged with a certain gravity. He had invested a lot of effort for the pure lotus demon flame, which would be a formidable weapon against the Soul Hall and the Soul Clan. Therefore, no matter what, he had to obtain it. "Are you heading back to Central Plains?" "I'll accompany you," Zi Yan said with a smile. Having heard their conversation, Xiao Yan was slightly taken aback and said, "You're coming too? East Dragon Island has just been through a major battle. If you leave now, it might not be ideal." He knew Zi Yan wanted to help him seize the pure lotus demon flame. Having a strong ally at the 4-star Dou Sheng level would undoubtedly increase their chances of success, but East Dragon Island? No worries. The 3 Dragon Kings were severely injured this time. The Western Dragon King and the Southern Dragon King are now crippled. It's uncertain when they'll recover their strength. The elders will handle matters on Eastern Dragon Island. Zi Yan winked at Xiao Yan, smiling. "You went through so much trouble to help me. I have to repay you somehow, right?" Seeing Zi Yan's insistence, Xiao Yan hesitated but eventually nodded. The Soul Hall would definitely intervene in the fight for the pure lotus demon flame, and they wouldn't underestimate him again. The experts they send would be formidable, so having someone as powerful as Zi Yan accompanying him would be much safer. "When do we depart?" Zi Yan's eyes sparkled with excitement at Xiao Yan's agreement, and her tone was filled with eagerness. Xiao Yan looked at her strangely. Was she tired of staying on Eastern Dragon Island and looking for an excuse to get out? "Since everything here is settled, let's leave now. Yao Ming, if you return to the 9 Nether-Earth Underworld Python clan, please keep an eye on Kailin for me. As for the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan's hostage, let Jufeng go back first to avoid any desperate actions from them. Keep Kuan Huang here on Eastern Dragon Island for now. 2 Dou Shengs should be enough to keep them at bay. With the 3 Dragon Islands in disarray, even the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan won't dare to act rashly," Xiao Yan said, turning to Yao Ming with a smile. Though Yao Ming was strong, he had only recently become clan leader and had already offended the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan, so he couldn't be away for too long. Thus, Xiao Yan didn't invite him to join the fight. "All right," Yao Ming smiled and cupped his fists towards Xiao Yan. "In that case, I wish you a smooth journey, brother Xiao Yan." Xiao Yan smiled, waved his sleeve, and a spatial passage opened beside him. He stepped in first, followed quickly by the others. After giving some rapid instructions, Zi Yan darted into the spatial passage under the helpless gaze of the great elder of Eastern Dragon Island. Under the azure sky, clouds lazily floated, and the warm sunlight spread across the landscape, creating a drowsy atmosphere. Suddenly, the quiet sky rippled, and a spatial crack slowly opened. Several figures walked out from within. "Finally, we've left that damn Dragon Island." I don't know why anyone would choose to migrate to such a place, Ziyan exclaimed, taking a deep breath of fresh air and spreading her arms, her delicate face showing a bit of delight. Watching Ziyan's immediate change from a dignified dragon emperor to a playful girl, Xiao Yan, little fairy doctor, and the others exchanged looks and could only shake their heads helplessly. Despite being the dragon emperor, her innate personality still shone through. Let's go. We're already within the Alliance's territory. We should reach Falling Star Pavilion soon, Xiao Yan said, scanning the surroundings before swiftly flying towards the direction of Falling Star Pavilion. With their current speed, Xiao Yan and the others were terrifyingly fast. In just a few minutes, numerous cities flashed by below. However, Xiao Yan frowned slightly as he noticed that many of these cities seemed rather dilapidated, as if they had recently experienced battles. Taking in the sight along the way, Xiao Yan thought, it seems the Alliance hasn't been peaceful lately. Then, with a sudden burst of speed, they vanished over the horizon. In the main hall of Falling Star Pavilion, Yao Lao, Huang Ancestor, and the Grand Elder of Pill Tower were all gathered. Their expressions were somewhat grim, indicating they were in no good mood. Yao Lao's eyes swept across the hall, barely containing his anger. Recently, over half of the Alliance's 300 important cities have been attacked. Though these attacks seem to come from various forces, Soul Hall's experts are mixed in. Pill Tower also reported an increase in attacks, with many alchemists disappearing without a trace. We all know who's behind this. Soul Hall is becoming more and more brazen, Huang Ancestor exclaimed, his fiery red eyebrows twitching in anger. The Grand Elder of Pill Tower, usually calm, also nodded grimly. Even he couldn't help but feel some anger at Soul Hall's despicable tactics. Fortunately, the Alliance had already established patrol guards, which helped avoid a lot of trouble. However, everyone outside knows that the Soul Hall has been exhausting us, leaving the Sky Mansion Alliance in a miserable state. Some neutral forces that originally planned to join us are now hesitating because of the Soul Hall's tactics. This isn't good for our reputation, Yao Lao said. The Grand Elder of the Pill Tower asked slowly, do you have any ideas? A cold glint flashed in Yao Lao's eyes as he said in a deep voice, fight fire with fire. They attack our cities. We will attack their branches. Hearing this, the Grand Elder of the Pill Tower and Huang Ancestor were slightly surprised. Although the Sky Mansion Alliance was not weak, there was still a gap compared to the Soul Hall. In this situation, Yao Lao's suggestion to actively attack the Soul Hall branches was shocking. This hadn't been seen in Central Plains for many years, as it was akin to poking a tiger. Under the notorious reputation of the Soul Hall, others tried to avoid them, let alone attack them in their territory. Yao Lao smiled faintly and said, though the Soul Hall is powerful, most of their strong members are at their headquarters. Their branch defenses aren't as formidable as imagined. If we concentrate our forces, we needn't fear them. The Sky Mansion Alliance was indeed slightly weaker than the Soul Hall, but the gap wasn't too vast. Though the Soul Hall had the backing of the Soul Clan, the Soul Clan was also under the watchful eye of other ancient clans. Therefore, there was no need to worry about the Soul Clan mobilizing against the Sky Mansion Alliance. Xiao Yan held the Tuashi ancient Emperor Jade, and the Gu Clan would never let the Jade fall into the hands of the Soul Clan. So, if the Soul Clan made a move, the Gu Clan would certainly not sit idly by. Xiao Yan said, teacher's words are quite true. It's impolite not to reciprocate. The Soul Hall's arrogance has gone unchecked for too long. It's time to suppress them. As everyone pondered, a clear laugh suddenly echoed in the hall. A breeze swept through, and several figures appeared in the hall, led by none other than Xiao Yan and his group. Seeing who had appeared, everyone was stunned, then delighted. Xiao Yan? Huang Ancestor jokingly scolded and was about to stand up when he suddenly noticed something, his expression changing slightly as he stared at Xiao Yan in shock. You rascal, you've finally returned, and your aura has reached the 2-star Dou Sheng? The Grand Elder of the Pill Tower also focused on Xiao Yan, and after a moment, sighed with a bitter smile. In just half a year, you've advanced from early 1-star Dou Sheng to 2-star. This speed, are you trying to make us feel ashamed? Yao Lao was also somewhat taken aback. He hadn't expected that Xiao Yan's strength had surged so rapidly in just half a year. However, he quickly recovered, stroking his beard with joy. His gaze then shifted to the person beside Xiao Yan, and his expression grew serious. Although he was only a high-level half-saint, his soul power was exceptionally strong, allowing him to sense Zi Yan's formidable presence. Standing up, Yao Lao respectfully cupped his fists towards Zi Yan and asked courteously, "And this is?" Seeing Yao Lao's respectful attitude, Yuewen ancestor and the Grand Elder of the Pill Tower also realized the formidable presence beside Xiao Yan. Their eyes filled with astonishment. How did Xiao Yan bring back such a powerful individual after just one trip? Feeling a bit awkward under Yao Lao's courtesy, Zi Yan hesitated. She had met Yao Lao before, but back then, she was still in the form of a little girl. "Teacher, she is Zi Yan. You've met her before," Xiao Yan said with a smile. "However, now she is the Dragon Emperor of the primordial ancient dragon clan. She's here to help me seize the pure lotus demon flame." Hearing this, Yuewen ancestor and the Grand Elder of the Pill Tower were startled, their hearts pounding. The Dragon Emperor of the primordial ancient dragon clan? They looked at Xiao Yan in disbelief, amazed that he could form ties with such a terrifying presence.